Howdy, YouTubers. This is Steven, and I want to talk with you about a young man named Neymar. And I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly. I think I am, but if I'm not, feel free to let me know. Um, but for those of you who don't know who Neymar is a famous Brazilian soccer player. I found out about Neymar during the 2014 World Cup series. And, you know, once I found out about him, I did a little research on him, and I wound up running across some articles about him on the internet. And in these articles, you know, the authors accused him of lightening his skin. And in these articles, they showed pictures, before and after pictures of Neymar. And I'm like, whoa, like, I didn't really expect to find anything like this. I just thought that was how Neymar looked. I mean, he's from Brazil, and if you are familiar with Brazil, you know that it's sort of like a really racially mixed country. There's a lot of different, groups of people and different races, and they have, mixed together over time. So I'm like, okay, he's, basically just a combination of races. And he is, but he, well, let me explain right quick. He has a white mother and a black father. So, he is mixed. However, you know, based on his pictures from childhood, you'll see that, he has more, or he had more of a brown skin tone. But presently, his skin is much lighter than it was when he was a child. And I think this has got people speculating that, Neymar may have lightening his skin. Some people say he may bleach his skin. I don't know the difference between lightening and bleaching, skin lightening and skin bleaching. But if there is a difference, again, feel free to let me know. But yeah, people accused him of, bleaching his skin. And I could see why, because there are, some differences between, some significant differences between his skin tone and how it looked when he was a kid versus how it looks now. I'm not sure whether he has lightened his skin, bleached his skin or not, personally, since he has never spoke about it, as far as I know. But based on the photographic evidence, you could make that assumption. He also changed his hair texture, so I think that kind of plays into things a little bit too. He's he changed his hair texture and also lightened his hair. In some instances, it's kind of like a brown color at some points, and then sometimes it's a blonde color. But whatever's hair, right? Usually people don't really trip about hair. However, people have also accused Neymar of getting a nose job. And me personally, I don't think he's gotten a nose job based on the before and after pictures I've seen. But people say that he's gotten a nose job. I personally don't think so. I don't see it. I think he has pretty much the same nose that he had when he was a kid. But, I think I'm, getting a bit off topic. The topic is skin lightening / skin bleaching. And, there are some people who, think that he has lightened or bleached the skin. And some of those people kind of, went in on him a little bit, started criticizing him, calling him a sellout, and he hates himself, He hates being, black or part black. And then, there's some people also who say that, oh, he looks better, in the after picture than the before picture. They like the way he looks now versus the way he looked before. Me personally, I don't criticize Neymar. I won't criticize him. Well, I won't say I won't criticize him, but I won't tear into him. I won't, you know, totally just, rip him apart because, you know, society has a lot to do with this. And the way that, certain people are treated, particularly people who have darker skin, sometimes bear the brunt of oppression and discrimination. As well, lighter skin is looked at as more ideal, unfortunately, at least in some situations. Well, I'd say in many situations, unfortunately. So, if you want to tear into someone, if you want to criticize someone, if you want to go in on someone, then, you go in on society. It's not to say that, okay, Neymar does not have anything to do with the situation, because he does. If he did do what people accused him of, what people are accusing him of doing, then, he does have something to do with it. But it's not entirely, his fault, so to speak, if you really think about it, because of the way society is structured and set up. Also, he's not the only man who's been accused of bleaching his skin. Sammy Sosa has been accused, and he has admitted to it. He said that he was, going to be the spokesperson for a skin lightening cream. Another person who's been accused of lightening his skin, or bleaching his skin, is Vybz Kartel. And he has admitted to it as well. And he compares skin lightening to plastic surgery and hair care, basically. People change their, well, the way he see it is, people change their hair texture, their hair color, wear fake hair, get plastic surgery, and he feels that it's no different. He just wanted to try something different and wanted to change. And of course, we all know about Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson, he said that he bleached his skin because he had vitiligo. But unfortunately, like, people didn't believe him. They thought that, he basically was a self-hater. He didn't like himself. He hated himself. And, there is evidence. I could see why people would think that. However, when Michael Jackson passed away, an autopsy report was released to the public, or at least some information from it was released to the public, and he did in fact have vitiligo. And people, people went in on him really bad about that, but he really did suffer from vitiligo. So yeah, in a situation like that, okay, yeah, lightening the skin would be a good option in order to have like an even skin tone, because if vitiligo, it causes people to have pigment in some areas and no pigment in other areas of your skin, so they don't have an even skin tone, and their skin looks very patchy. Like, you have a really light spot on one point of your skin, and then the regular skin tone on another part of your skin. So yeah, I could understand him wanting to find a way to treat or deal with his vitiligo. There's also this popular female celebrity in Kenya, the country Kenya in Africa. And she goes by the name of Vera Sidika. And Vera, she has lightened, or has lightened her skin. She says that she didn't bleach it. She says, she did lighten it, but she didn't bleach it. I don't know the difference. She didn't explain the difference, but that's what she said. But she does admit to her skin being lighter, and she also admits to, having a dermatologist lighten her skin. And I do applaud the fact that she spoke out about it and admitted to it. I personally do like the way that her skin looks. Again, I hate to say it, but I do like the way her skin looks. However, there's nothing wrong with the way that her skin looked before it was bleached. And by the way, her skin looks a better shade when she does an interview. Based on the interview that I saw, her skin looks like a different shade. A more natural shade, but I do, I think that both looks are good. I applaud her for admitting to the skin bleaching. And she says that Rihanna and Nicki Minaj they both have gotten the same thing done to them. And I'm not sure if that's true or not, but that's what she said. And she said that she went to a dermatologist in the United Kingdom and had the procedure done. She wanted to take a very safe route with it and do it as safely as possible so that she won't have any complications as she gets older. Vera Sidika explains that the reason that she lightened, she says that she lightened her skin. She doesn't call it bleaching. She calls it lightening. So the reason that she did it was because her body is her business, and she felt ultimately that she would be more marketable. And she says she has, people have been coming to her with different offers to host events and to make appearances in videos. And she says that, she's been receiving a lot more work. And, people criticize Vera Sidika. However, again, as well, people criticize Michael Jackson, Vybz Kartel, Sammy Sosa, and Neymar. People criticize these people, but, these people do deserve some criticism. I won't, let them off the hook totally. But again, you have to turn it back to society, because society is doing this. I mean, the media. I mean, when you look for positive portrayals of people, particularly people of African descent, it's a little difficult to find. It's there, but it's a little difficult at times. And as well, also, being a part of, a country, or, in this case, different countries that have a legacy of white supremacy. This is, you could say that this is sort of like the manifestation of white supremacy. Because we all, in the societies that we live in, most likely we all kind of receive the message that, white is better, or at least light is better. So while I do believe that ultimately these guys do deserve criticism, I don't down them. I down the system. I down society, because ultimately society has put it in these guys' head that, what they have or what they were born as wasn't good enough for some reason. And why was that? You know? And also, these people have something in common with each other. All of these people have something in common with each other. You know? All the people that I mentioned on in this video. You know, the one thing that they have in common with each other is that they are all of African descent. You know, ultimately, they're all of African descent. You know, some people might be, you know, part this, part that, but they all at least have some African ancestry. Is that surprising to you? If you think about it, does that really surprise you? I ran across some very interesting information while I was browsing around on the internet. I came across some hate crime statistics, and these statistics come from the FBI. And you know, there in 2013, there were a total of 7,242 victims of hate crime. At least that's what was reported. You know, of course, there's things that go unreported, but reported there were, let's say, 7,000 hate crimes. Let's just round it to 7,000 victims of hate crime. You know, um, of these hate crimes, about 49.3% of the victims were victimized because of their race. So about half of the victims of hate crimes are victimized because of their race. Okay, hope you're still following me. All right, next, there were about 3,563 victims of racially motivated hate crimes. With that in mind, who do you think, which racial group do you believe had the most hate crimes committed against it? And by the way, the FBI statistics do not include Hispanic or Latino as races. They consider those ethnicities, so they will not be included in the statistics that I'm saying here. All right, but which racial group do you believe suffered the most hate crimes? You know, which racial group do you believe received the most hate crimes committed against them? I just want you to think about that for a minute. Which racial group do you believe was victimized the most by people who committed hate crimes? Think about that. All right. Based on the statistics released by the FBI, 66.5% of the victims of racially motivated hate crimes were African American / Black. More than half of the people who are victims of hate crimes based on race are Black people / African Americans. Next, 21.2% of the victims were white. 4.6% of the victims were Asian. 4.5% of the victims were American Indian or Alaskan Native. 3.1% of the victims were multiracial people. 0.1%, that's equals about 3 individuals, were victims of anti-Native Hawaiian or Pacific Islander bias. And the reason that I mention these statistics is because, I just, just to add some validity to what I'm saying. And so that people aren't just like, oh, you're overreacting, you're making things up. Like, unfortunately, I'm not. You know, I wish I was. I wish I was just telling some fairy tale, or some, a horror story. But it's not really a fairy tale. It is a horror story, but it is a horror story that's true. People of African descent do bear the brunt of a lot of racial oppression and, you know, racial racial dislike, racial hatred. And also, this is just what's been reported. There are so many different situations that go unreported, or that are swept under the rug, are just not able to be reported because it doesn't really technically break a law. So it's not really anything that should be documented as far as a crime is concerned. And people like to compare, skin lightening slash skin bleaching with tanning. And I can understand why some people would make that comparison. But it's different, and I think it's different because um, we don't live in a society or a world that says darker is better. Also, I don't think that when people tan, I don't think that their motivations are exactly the same as the motivations of people who bleach or lighten their skin. Because, ultimately you don't gain a social advantage because of dark skin. Typically. However, you do gain a social advantage when you have lighter skin. And that may be difficult for some people to accept. People on both sides of the issue to accept, and people in the middle of the issue to accept. It may be difficult to accept that. But in my opinion, I do think that ultimately that is at least somewhat true. That is somewhat a valid point. Perhaps not in every single situation you may encounter, but typically, yeah, it kind of is, unfortunately. And it is because ultimately we live in, you know, at least I do, a society that was, has, you know, white supremacy embedded within it. As well, I think that kind of, when people say that skin bleaching slash skin lightening is the same as tanning, I think that it ultimately takes away from the issue and distracts from the true issue of racism and white supremacy. That's kind of like, oh yeah, it's all the same, really. And, you know, it's just someone's choice. It's like, oh, it's just because of aesthetics, and they just do it purely because of the way that they want to look. And yeah, looks do have something to do with it, but it's more than just looks. How about instead we hold the media accountable, or at least partially accountable? How about we demand more of, you know, movies and television, um, and ask for more representation of people of color and people who reflect the diverse countries that they live in. But I guess sometimes it's just easier to go after the people, you know, like Vera and Michael, the people who have done it, because I guess they're just an easier target. because it's hard to go up against the system. It's hard to deal with, um, you know, the mindset and the, you know, the system of white supremacy. So again, I don't down any of these guys. Ultimately, I don't down them. The point of this video was to ultimately just start a dialogue and just to get some opinions about the situation as well. As far as I know, I don't think there's any videos on YouTube for the most part about males who have bleached their skin. Usually it deals with females more so. So, I want to help, add a different perspective into the conversation of skin bleaching slash skin lightening. An interesting thing to note is that some of these guys look better before the lightning. Really, they all look better before the lightning. They all at least look they look respectable before the lightning. But many of them, the lightning actually was kind of like a downgrade if you think about it. At least in my personal opinion, for some. I'd say for Sammy Sosa, I think that was a downgrade. For Vybz Kartel, I think it was a downgrade. For Michael Jackson, I think it was a kind of a downgrade. In the case of Neymar and Vera Sidika, I feel that, their after shots, how they look after they change their skin tone, I think it looks nice, but I don't think that is necessary. I think that both their before and after shots both look nice. It wasn't necessary. But to be fair, the problem may be more than just skin deep. And to be honest, the reasons that they did this is more than likely skin deep. To be honest, most likely it's more than skin. It's more than skin deep. But I want it to be known that, despite my opinions on the situation, I do not endorse skin lightening or skin bleaching. And the reason that I don't endorse it is because I feel like ultimately it is just perpetuating the belief that lighter is better and that white is right. Right, right. White is right, but so is everything else. You don't have to be white to be right. And also, I hope that no one was offended by anything that I've said, because that wasn't my intention. That's not my intention with doing this video. Again, my intention is to start a dialogue, and just, start a conversation about it and hear different perspectives about the situation, and to bring light to a situation that sometimes is kind of swept under the rug, like, oh, that doesn't happen, that doesn't exist, but really it does happen. It does exist. People, there are skin lightening creams, skin bleaching creams in stores. People do buy these creams. Skin bleaching creams and skin lightening creams are a multi-billion-dollar business. So someone is buying these creams. And, but why? Why, ultimately? Is it just because of lighter skin? Like, just because you want lighter skin? Or is there a reason why you feel that, the person feels that they should have lighter skin? And, ultimately where I'm trying to get at with that is like, okay, did the right is white mentality affect people? the white is right mentality? Did that affect them and make them feel that, okay, they should, lighten their skin to be closer more to, to be lighter and to be closer to white? But I could go on and on about this subject, but I'll bring this video to a close. Thanks a lot for watching. Definitely feel free to comment. Feel free to subscribe. Feel free to give me a thumbs up. The feedback and the support is really appreciated. Until the next video, adios and goodbye for now. One more thing that I want to mention before I go. I have a question. Do you have to be white in order to be a white supremacist? Think about that. Think about that for a moment. And while you're thinking about that, think of your definition of a white supremacist. How do you define a white supremacist? Again, do you have to be white in order to be a white supremacist? And I'll leave you on that note. Again, thanks a lot for watching and listening to me. Adios and goodbye for now.